The Louisiana Purchase, 1803. The Louisiana Territory had originally been controlled by Spain after claiming that land from Native American control. We know that the Americans were really worried about New Orleans down here. That had been a major trade route for all of the Western farmers who could not get around the Appalachians. At the point of Louisiana Purchase, we still did not have the Erie Canal. We did not have the Cumberland Road, so we didn't have that access point. So these farmers needed to use the Mississippi River, come out New Orleans, and come over to the east for trade. Well, Thomas Jefferson at the time sends delegates to France and goes, hey, we want New Orleans for $10 million. The leader of France at the time, who had taken over this territory from the Spanish, this leader, Napoleon, was in a conflict with Britain in Europe. He had been trying to almost take over the world, and he had just lost his one colony in the Caribbean, Hispaniola, which would be down here. So Napoleon was very ready to get some money and to abandon this Western Hemisphere kind of dream of his. So instead of just $10 million for New Orleans, he offers the entire territory for $15 million. So we see the how of making this treaty with France to get this whole territory for $15 million. The why is to gain access to that trade route, to keep that trade port open to help us out. Now, beyond this, there's a couple other things that go along with this. When we get this land, we don't know what we got. So, Thomas Jefferson sends a secret mission of two people, Lewis and Clark, to explore the region. And they actually go through a lot of Louisiana and into the Oregon Territory, which had been disputed, and we'll talk about in another video. They don't venture into Spanish land, but they do see a little bit of what we're going to be covering, of what resources are there, what groups of people. They have interactions with Native Americans, some good, some not so good. They see some of the resources. They realize you got to get past the Rocky Mountains at a certain point, or you get snowed in. They learn a lot about the agriculture, the soil, the climate, the animals of the region. And it's very beneficial to the United States. Now, obviously there's positives and negatives to this. Some of the positives that you may have already been able to come up with, you'll need to explain why these are actual positives, but you might be able to get more farmland. Not all the area is going to be good for farming. You're going to remove France from North America as an enemy. You're going to be able to spread out a crowded eastern population, new opportunities, cheap/free land, maybe new resources, new trade routes out to the west. But with any big purchase, there's also going to be negatives. And those negatives come down to, obviously, now you're in even greater debt. You have possibly new enemies with different American Indian tribes or the Spanish. How are you going to organize this land? How are you going to protect this land? How are you going to get people out there? How are you going to spend all this money for it? The discovery of the land, which I talked about in the previous picture, we don't know what we just spent the money on. It's crazy. Now, this allows Andrew Jackson to do the Indian Removal Act later on, which we talked about. And then you have other examples of something like loose interpretation, with Jefferson going, well, I didn't want to do this, but it's in the best interest of the country. So there's a lot of positives and negatives to this move. And in the end, this doubling of the size of the land in the United States is going to be very beneficial. It's considered one of the best real estate decisions in world history. And it will set the United States up for greater success as they move forward.